In 2019, I worked at a group home. I was hired on and I was there at the capacity of a house parent. And it's basically someone living on the grounds that serves as a parent to the children within the group home. I serviced girls that were under the age of 18, and I was responsible for 6 young ladies. And while there, I was tasked to do everything from making sure they went to school, got up for school, prepared meals, did activities with them, planned activities, made sure they did their homework, etc. So I would function as a surrogate parent in a sense. So I was hired on and I was working in suburban PA. I was hired to work in this huge Victorian home with a wraparound porch, and it was an old home and had a lot of character. And when I first pulled up, I was like, wow, it seems like it would be a cool place to work. And when I got on the porch, immediately I felt something was wrong. I got inside and there was wood everywhere. I mean, everywhere. Like lots of wood to polish. Wooden fixtures on the ceiling, staircase, you name it. And it was an old, antique looking home. So while there, I just wasn't settled. It was a new job for me, and I dismissed it as maybe just having, on the job first time jitters or something. And come to find out later, it wasn't just first time jitters on the job. The job was actually haunted, the place of work. So living in this group home, it was terrifying. It started out with little things, putting things down. Like I remember one night I was doing my notes and my pen disappeared. I'd put it down and it would disappear. And then when I looked, it was someplace where I didn't put it. One time I was writing and I put the pen down and then it appeared on the bed. So, I'm thinking maybe I didn't get enough sleep. You're trying to rationalize it, because with me and seeing spirits, it's like, even though I have this thing, I don't want to continue to see these things all the time, especially while I'm at work. So as time went on, I remember to try to get the girls, build rapport with them, because it was hard. A lot of them come from broken homes, or, they're in the system. So some of them are quite jaded. So trying to establish rapport with them, I would do activities. And that was a part of my job, is to plan activities with them. So we went to the Y, we did like amusement parks and the library, different things. So one night I said, you know what, to get them to open up a little bit and to break the ice, because they weren't really talking to me, was to play this game called hide and clap. And I saw it on The Conjuring and I thought it would be a good idea. I don't know why I did this. Bad idea. So the night I actually wrote a short story about this. So if you do want to hear about it and are interested, you can definitely go back and watch this video, and learn about a little bit about Madison House and what I've experienced. And I call it Madison House because that's not the real name. But so that night I took the girls, we got together to play hide and clap. I explained the rules to them. They were like, yeah, they were excited. So we started playing. It was about 5 of us total playing. The 6th girl, she was actually at her friend's house, so she wasn't home yet. So we were, getting ready to play hide and clap, and one of them went to hide and she clapped. So I blindfolded the other one, and I didn't want to just have her blindfolded going through the house because it would be a safety concern. So I held on to her and guided her through the house. So we said the first clap, so the person clapped. And then we heard that they were, of course, upstairs. So she's like, second clap, they clapped, and then we heard it. So we followed where the noise was coming from. So we went into the room, and the youngest girl, we thought that she was hiding under the bed. And Gardena, I thought she was hiding under the bed because she was the tiniest one in the house. She did not look her age, very mousy, tiny little thing. And I remember hearing that she was in the room. So I was like, she's in here. You know, we're about to seal the deal and get her because she gave herself away. So we walked around the side of the bed. I guided the girl around the side of the bed, and I felt a hand go like this across my foot. I had on socks, and the fingers, at first I was like, you know, it was just a weird touch. It was a weird feeling. And it was like kind of a chill went down my spine. I was like, you know what? I'm letting this game creep me out. So I was like, she's on the side of the bed. I'm whispering and telling the other girls. So when we lift up the comforter, it was one of those sleigh beds. There's no way in hell that a child could fit under the bed because of the way the wood is positioned under the bed. There's nothing could fit under there, not even a bag. And just to be sure, I used my strength and lifted it up, and there was no one there. So someone touched my foot. And when I thought about the touch and not seeing the girl there, the touch became even colder, inhuman. And then I'm starting, because when it touched me, it didn't feel like a child. I wanted to like connect the two, you know, thinking that it was a kid that touched me. And then to learn that it wasn't a child that touched my foot playing the game, I shut everything down. I was like, you know what? We're not playing this game anymore. That's it. It's over. We're done. And that night, I remember going to bed and just not being able to sleep, just thinking of this inhuman thing that's in the house, because now it can touch you. So there were other nights where other things happened. I remember one night particularly, I got up to do my rounds, you know, make sure the girls were in their beds. And then I went, they have a basement. I'm terrified of basements since the entire haunting thing at my childhood home. And if you want to learn about that, definitely go back and watch my video about my childhood home and experiences. But I went to the basement. I heard the reason what triggered me to go down there is I did my rounds anyway, but there was a booming coming from the basement. It sounded like one of the kids put sneakers inside the dryer. And I heard it going boom, 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 like tumbling. So I was like, oh crap, they put sneakers in there and, you know, they can cause, you know, a fire or some type of hazard with these sneakers in this dryer. So I go down there and I pull open the dryer. Nothing is inside. I'm like, the sound was directly coming from the dryer. Nothing was inside. Checked the washing machine. Nothing was inside the washing machine. And I remember getting up at night to check on the girls and making sure they were in their beds, because I heard like people were moving furniture at night. It would be like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. And it will always be around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning that I would hear shuffling about. And I remember my first time doing rounds, you know, I was like, girls, you need to be in your bed. And I go and everybody's in their bed. Everything's quiet. Nobody's moving around. So the way this Victorian Manor is set up, it's a big house. And the way it's set up is there's a ground floor, there's the basement, there's a second floor. So there's the basement, the ground floor, the second floor, and there's a third floor. And the third floor, nobody was allowed to go up on because it was completely vacant. They didn't have any bedrooms up there. Only thing they stored up there were like old air conditioners or air conditioners that we would use for the summer, chairs, a few mattresses, and just a few other things, but it wasn't junky or jam-packed up there. So to think that the kids were up, me to find out that they were sleeping, and understand that no furniture was being moved around, I knew it was the entity within inside the home. It started getting worse when the kids were seeing things. I remember one particular night, my mom actually worked this job with me. I'll never forget, because I did not tell my mother about this spirit that was in the house. My mom came from Jersey, and she needed a job. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to tell you about this job because it's pretty easy to do. So she did it for a little while. I didn't say anything to her because I didn't want to spook her. So she went there, and the thing, while she was sleeping, it touched her in her back. She felt the fingers in her back touch her at night. Nobody was in the room but her. So there was a lot of creepy things. And my mom actually fell down the stairs and injured herself. She said something, she felt something might have pushed her, because the way my mom's hand was after the fall, there was nothing on the stairs to create such a wound. Her finger was mangled. I've never seen anything like it. It was jagged and it was cut really deep. So I was like, maybe you should go get stitches. She's like, no, I'll be fine. You know, she worked in the medical field for several years, so she knew if she needed stitches or not. But the way the wound was, it was so jagged. And I'm like, what could have mangled her finger like that just by falling down the stairs? It was crazy. So I remember there was another day when she told me that the kids were returning home and they saw someone in the, like, when we pulled up in the van. My mom was taking care of the kids that time. They pulled up in the van and one of the girls saw someone walking underneath the light in the dining room, because you can drive up, actually, sorry, the kitchen. So you could drive up and see the kitchen. And they were like, hey, you know, Miss Neva, what is that? You know, somebody's walking around in the kitchen. Nobody was there. I saw these dark figures outside. I remember I was checking it. They told me to check the perimeter, and I took my job very seriously. So as a house parent, I would go outside at night to make sure everything was safe. And it was a quiet neighborhood. It wasn't, you know, a crazy area. And I remember seeing these figures standing there. They were not people. It was, and again, an inhuman entity or entities, and they were standing. There was two of them, and they just stood there. And I froze for a minute, and I was like, I know what this is. So I hurried up and ran inside the house. I think the one entity that scared me the most, or was the most malevolent entity of them all, was the mist. I got up one morning, getting the kids ready for school. No, I had to take one of them to the doctor's office. They were sick. So I got up and I started the car, let the van warm for a while, and I saw in the back seat this thing. It was just sitting there, stoic, and it was humanoid. It had the shape of a human, but it wasn't. And you felt this dark energy like coming off of it. It was just so weird. And then I like did a double take, and I saw it where it misted and evaporated or dissipated and went away. And that was a scary feeling, terrifying, because for you to be at work and then you have to keep your composure because you don't want to set the children off, and some of them are there that have, you know, mental health issues or other issues, and you don't want to, you know, expose them to that. So I'm like trying to keep it to myself, but the kids started seeing things, and that's where it got scarier. The kids began to see and feel things, and that's when it got a lot scarier. I remember one particular time there was a girl in the house that was going through these emotional upsets, and she was just always nice. She would have an attitude now and again, but I saw this drastic change in her behavior, and I was just worried about her. She was declining fast, and she would always want to be up in her room constantly. And she was not that type of person. When I first started, she was sociable. She was with the other girls. She liked to have fun. And then you saw her where she was isolating herself. I have a mental health background, so I, you know, was constantly checking in on her. I advocated for her to get therapy because I saw where she needed it. And she just became really angry all the time, agitated. Didn't want to eat meals, or if she ate, she would sit on the other end of the table away from the other girls. She would not want to be around us. Just seriously agitated. Every little thing that you would say to her, she would turn it into an argument or blow it up into this big thing. Then one day she was like, why don't the voices just leave me alone? She never had like a diagnosis of schizophrenia or anything like that. She told me that something in the house was talking to her and telling her to do bad things. When I heard that, immediately I wanted to get her the help she needs. She was seeing her therapist. I wanted to talk to her. You know, I asked her questions. I was like, what's telling you to do bad things? She's like, there's something in the house that's telling me to do bad things. She got to the point where she was so bad off. she did not want to stay in the house. She was freaking out. She was like, she had a psychotic break, and they took her to the unit, to the mental health hospital, and had her there. She was on a hold for, first they did the 72 hours, and then they ended up keeping her for another week and a half. So she stayed there for a while, and when she returned, it just seemed like the life was sucked out of her. She had no type of, and it could have been with the medications, she had no type of personality. The light that I once saw in her was just gone. And I remember hearing her talking to something in the room, like having a full-on conversation. She didn't have a cell phone, and I said, "Are you talking to somebody?" And she said, "No, I'm not. I'm fine. Just leave me alone." And then she told me that she can't wait to leave the house. So things escalated. Her behavior got really bad, and she threatened to slit me and my mother's throats while we slept. So it got crazy, and we had to get her out of there because she started to become a danger to herself and to others because she was making these threats. And I took that seriously because these kids have so many behavioral problems. You don't want to catch them on a bad day. It can turn out pretty bad. So we packed up her stuff, and I found a knife in her belongings. And I said, oh my God, this could have very well been bad. So when she left, she said she was so happy to leave because she said that she felt that evil things were in the house telling her to do things. And for me, seeing her behavior on the decline like that, for a kid that was so happy to drastically changing and then acting like she was soulless at one point, it was very scary. And when she left the house, I swear to you not, within just a few days of her leaving, her personality returned. The new house mom even emailed me and called me and FaceTimed me, and she's like dancing and singing and happy again. So I just thought that was the weirdest thing. And at one point, with the spirits being in the house, me seeing things, doors closing, the worst incident, well, I saged the house. I did, because it got to the point where I was like, you know what? I talked to my sister. She's like, get some blue sage. She actually got me some, and she gave it to me. And I saged the house. I had my dad, he's a bishop. I had him bless this olive oil. I had him bless it, and I took it to the house, and I put it on the doors, and I saged the entire house. And whatever was in there, the house felt a lot lighter, and it was different in there. It just felt different, cleaner. I can't even really describe it. Like, that dark entity left, and everything was good again. And the kids were behaving so well and doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then, like, about a couple of weeks later, it returned, and the kids were back to being malicious to each other. And the girls were just so evil to each other. And you're thinking, well, it's a group home, so the kids are going to be like that. But I come to know these girls, working there the year, and I come to know them, and they were a little rough around the edges, but the way that they were acting out and so malicious to each other, it just felt like there was something triggering a lot of this. And I want to say it was the entity within the home, because it was like feeding on them. I don't know how else to describe it. But after I staged the house, it returned. And the scariest showdown for me in the house was I left that same day. I never returned after that. One of the girls heard the shower going, and they're like, Miss Casey, the shower, is running. And I was like, there's nobody in the shower. So I went upstairs and checked. The shower wasn't on, and they said, yes, we heard the water running. I was like, that's impossible, because there's cleanser in the tub. If it was running, the cleanser would be washed down the tub. There's no way. And it's the same cleanser that I put in there. So I went back in the bathroom. Like I told the girls, I was like, today is chore day. Let's get this done. So everybody's in their stations cleaning. So I'm in the bathroom cleaning, and the door slams shut. The girls said that the door locked earlier with the shower. They couldn't get in to turn off the water. And I was just like, maybe there's a key for the door, and I had the only key. So I went in there, and the door slammed shut. I'm trying to open the door won't open. And the door only locks from the outside. And I know no one has a key but me. So I'm trying to open the door, and then this thing, I just felt this energy. It was dark, it was saturated, it was just terrifying, and it pushed me. And I felt it, and I was just like, oh my God, I've got to get out of here. And it made a noise, and I can't even describe the noise. I think I wrote it somehow. It made this grunting noise. I don't know how to describe it. And when it made this noise, I was like, that's it, I'm out of here. So somehow I got the door open. I ran out into the street to get some air. The way it grabbed me, when I felt grabbed, I couldn't breathe. In that moment, it was like, it felt like eternity. I don't know how else to describe it when it grabbed me. And after that, I was just like, I've got to go. This is dangerous. Whatever this thing is dangerous. And my mom had quit like maybe a month before I left, or some months before I left. She was like, you need to get out of there. This thing will kill you. And that was my last day when it grabbed me and kind of choked me. And it made this noise that was just, it was just inhuman, is the best way to describe it. Like this grunting noise. So, and I never researched the house, but I'm definitely going to check it out to find out who died there. I do know that the house is a Victorian manor. There were slave quarters in the basement where I was, where the boiler room was and all of that. They were cut out slave quarters. You can clearly see them. So whatever entity is in the house, it's probably still there, and it's probably still messing with the kids to this day. But I had to leave. It was something that caused me to leave, because I said, if this could easily do this, it can endanger me. It can endanger my life. And I told some of the staff, and they like laughed it off. They're like, nah, it's not haunted. But another woman that believed me, she's like, a lot of people do not stay in this house because it is haunted. She's like, don't let it fool you. A lot of people do not work here or take this assignment because they know it's haunted. And that was it for me, you know. So let me know in the comment section what you thought about this. If you've ever experienced any entities like physically in your home or elsewhere, let me know what that was like in the comments below. And like I said, definitely check out my other videos too, and let me know what you think.